Welcome back to In the Moment. I'm Lori Walsh. Jonathan Edwards' guitar playing, writing, and vocal sense were inspired in part by a little sibling rivalry. Ooh. He's now based in the Twin Cities. He plays with the stage name Wayward. He grew up in Afton, Minnesota, one of 13 siblings. The indie pop artist draws inspiration from stories of real life, not just his own, but also from the people he meets. Edwards says each and every person on the planet has a unique story, a unique ambition, a unique past, a unique future. I like that. Yeah. Wayward plays at Paramount Studio Cocktails and Food in Sioux Falls tonight, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. He's joining us in the Kirby Family Studio for Moment in Sound. Hey, Jonathan, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. It's sweet being here.
All right, so a little bit of Minnesota and here to South Dakota, and you got some good weather.
Yes. Well, if you've grown up in the Midwest, you know how rare that can be on a day like today. I drove the entire way here completely sunny. Like, yes. How rare is that?
Yes.
I know we're literally talking about the weather, which is like, that's like small talk. But in Midwest, it's like actually real. Like
it can be the center stage, depending on
it really is.
What's happening. And after in February, you need these sunny days to sort of lift your spirit.
Oh gosh.
Happiness and joy, and this is one of the themes that you care about.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that we're talking about a little positive sunshine right there.
Man, you did your research. That's amazing. You even know some song behind the scenes stuff.
Let's talk a little bit about growing up as a kid, and we're this 13 kids in the family, and kind of a little bit of competition, but yet in a good way, I hope.
Yeah, it was. That was definitely a good way, I would say. So my two of my sisters mostly played guitar, and I was like, how like as a younger sibling, you kind of like try to take after the things that the older siblings are doing, but you're also kind of like not ever going to be as good as them, and they're just always cooler than you. Well, that was definitely the case. And I don't think I'll ever be as cool as my sisters, but they played guitar, and I was like, man, I really want to learn how this goes. And kind of from when I first started, I was around, like, when you first pick up an instrument, it was maybe around 10, and then like you could just slowly kind of become more interested in it. And so then I became kind of more, quote unquote serious about playing and writing songs a couple years later. But it was playing guitar was mostly just like I really liked like playing these random songs and sounding really cool in my own head. Maybe I love just sitting down in my bedroom and just playing all these songs. And when my sisters, actually no, one of my sister named Hannah, she wrote her first song, and we were kind of learning sort of in tandem, except she was a little bit better than I was. Shout out Hannah if you're watching. So when she wrote her first song, I was like, oh man, I better write a song. Like I'm not going to be outdone by her. And so I took the liberty to write my first song, and it was horrible, but it was my first song, and I thought it was amazing.
Right.
So
good.
Actually, I take that back. It was amazing. It was amazing. And so that's kind of how it started.
There's something about that because some people who keep going on, the journey of artistic expression or the arts sometimes look back on that early stuff and sort of cringe a little bit.
Oh, sure.
But I think if you can look back on your early stuff and see, especially if it was a child, like you're like 10, 13 years old, and you can see the seeds of something that you recognize as being a spark, and you're like, it was there.
That's really insightful of you. I think that's really true. I think even looking back at some of my, the first recordings that I ever did, and elements of them are so cringy to use that word, and I was like, oh man, this is so cringy. But also sometimes when I listen back, I'm like, I wasn't too bad for like where I was, and like there's a lot of cool. There's just a lot of like cool ideas that were there,
Right, and that young artist can inform you as a more mature artist if you can get past your self-criticism of going, oh, I can't watch that, I'm totally copying somebody there, or that was such a cliche. Totally. But you can also see that fresh spark that was really original, and then use that. It's like a letter and a message in a bottle.
Yeah,
for you as
message in a bottle. I like that. A message in a bottle from your past self, right?
Your past self, and that's happening now too.
Yeah,
with the music that you make now. Even though there's nothing cringeworthy, as you, continue to mature and play, you can look back at a lifetime.
I know.
We
might look back at this interview, and earlier before we went live, we were talking about how we're going to start a really impressive movie franchise.
Right.
And So maybe when we look back at this interview, we'll be like, wow, we were such babies. We only had the concept of our first movie.
Right. We were coming up with ideas, and then it developed into this.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What will you play for us first today here?
Well, this first song is a song I wrote that's called $11 in My Wallet. And I wrote it when I literally had, I think literally $11 in my wallet. But the story is somehow there was a bank error, and every digital way of spending money was like not available for like 2 weeks or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have and I started with, I think around $20 or something like that. And I was like, okay, I have to survive on $20. I have to figure out how this is going to work. And so I remember thinking like, this is kind of weird. Like, this is a funny situation. Like, I have $11-ish in my wallet. And I think when I wrote the song at the time, I actually did have literally $11 in my wallet. I went into my wife's closet and wrote this song. And I wrote it about basically pursuing the things that you want to accomplish and the person that you want to be. And even like having financial goals, because I think we sometimes centralize those maybe too much. But having even those goals, maybe even financially, but knowing that like along the whole process, there are so many more important things. Yeah. So this is a song that I wrote about that, and it's called $11 in My Wallet. I'm 11 years old, and I got enough vision and ambition to spare. I've got everything in life just planned out in front of me. I'm gonna be a freaking millionaire. I'm gonna wear a fancy jacket, I'll be nice to the receptionist. I'll tip in dollar bills that don't exist yet. You might look at me now, I don't know, but somehow I'm gonna get there from what I started with. I'm gonna be a big shot someday. Then I'm gonna be happy. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. Yeah. And if you want, you can come along with me. It kinda feels like we're living in a daydream. I really wanna get there, but for now I only got $11 in my wallet. I'm a couple years older, and I'm feeling like my life is really getting on track. And I'm still just as ambitious, I'm a genie for my wishes. Started down this road, I'm never going back. Cause if I make more money, you'll laugh and think I'm funny, and we'll feel like we're deeper in love. Cause everybody knows a life made of gold is shinier and easier and fun. I'm gonna be a big shot someday. Then I'm gonna be happy. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. And if you want, you can come along with me. It kinda feels like we're living in a daydream. I really wanna get there, but for now I only got $11 in my wallet. Now I'm 86 and I became the stars I shot for, but I wounded way too many hearts along the way. All of my empty houses I can never trade for just one more chance to see your beautiful face. And I can't help but hear a boy on the street, and he's singing his songs, and he looks a lot like me. And he says, I'm gonna be a big shot someday. Then I'ma be happy. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there, yeah. And if you want, you can come along with me. It kinda feels like we're living in a daydream. I really wanna get there, but for now I only got $11 in my wallet. 1, 2, 3,
Hey, you're listening to Moment in Sound here on In the Moment today on SDPB Radio. Wayward is my guest. You can see him tonight in Sioux Falls at the Paramount, which is a really fun place to play.
It is.
Have you checked it out yet?
I actually have. So it's been a really fun place to play a couple times actually. That was where I've met I think that's actually where I've met almost everybody that I know in Sioux Falls. There are a handful of people that I know elsewhere, but I've played there a handful of times. It's a really sweet place. It's like classy, but not too classy, you know? Like, it's not like intimidating to go in there, but it's like, ooh, this is fancy. They're like mirrors and like these fancy lamps. And the bartender, there are a couple different bartenders and baristas, but the one that's there every time I've ever been there, he has this really classy bow tie. So
there you go.
If you stop and make sure you say hi.
It's a classy place, and it's just going to get better tonight and tomorrow night. Do you like playing live? This is a very different. So you can record, you can play for an intimate audience. You do house parties.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how those different experiences are for you. This is just you and me in a tiny little space, and I'm just like staring at you play. Not awkward at all for you, I don't know. But then you could have a large, noisy, clinking glasses kind of gathering, or an intimate house party.
It's totally, it is really interesting. Sometimes when people are like, so what kind of venues do you play? And I'm like, man, where do you even start?
Yeah.
Because it's all over the place. Like, it could be like tonight at Paramount. It's like a really chill atmosphere. Everyone usually comes, hangs out with friends. Some people are there like trying to intently listen to music, and some people are there like listening kind of in the background, and it's a really cool atmosphere, and it's totally more unique than, or not more unique, it's unique to every other place that you play. Right. So like if you play a show where it's like a ticketed event, people are usually there like just like there for music, and but it's totally all these types of different things. Sometimes people pay me to play at like a brewery or something in the middle of nowhere, and that's pretty cool. Yeah. Because then it's like it's yet another outlet where you show up and maybe get the word out ahead of the time, and there are like a whole bunch of people that like in their small town, it's kind of like the main thing happening that day. Right. So they're like
it matters. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's all and that's like honestly the variety of types of shows is actually really good, and I think good for my perception of my career too, because I think there's some types of shows that are so adrenaline kicking where like, oh my goodness, like probably the most adrenaline kicking show I've ever played was in my hometown of Minneapolis, and there were kind of a lot of people there, and it was crazy because it was like, this is a lot of energy, because as a performer I totally feel that energy, no matter like, and it could be a chill energy, it could be a really excited energy, it could be any kind of energy, it could be a whole bunch of people who are just, I don't know, like having fun and cracking jokes, or starting their own movie series or whatever it is. You can do whatever you want over dinner. But it's all these types of different atmospheres, and I think it's good to kind of have the variety, because I think if you just played one, you would, I think, just lack insight maybe about the place that your music plays in somebody else's life. Yeah. Because if you're going out somewhere with friends, sometimes you probably would be there to catch up with your friend and stuff. And I think a lot of times people only want to do like the really adrenaline pumping ones, because it's like I think it's a hard time for a lot of musicians to like play when people are like hanging out with friends. But I think one thing that's really helped me is that I actually really like that. Mm-hmm. I think it's really fun to like, I can look and see a table of people and like, they are having it in like an awesome time. And so you can go anywhere from totally background music to being the like center point of attention. And I think you can be most content in every situation because you have the variety. That's my theory. Yeah. That's my theory.
I like that. I like that very much. I'm a sit and watch the music person. Like if I go to see music, I want to. Yeah. Yeah. But that helps me think about other people's experiences a little bit. Because sometimes I'm like, shh. And they look at me like it's a bar. We can't tell. But I want to hear.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way, but yeah, it is very interesting. It's
true. It provides an entire. It's not just atmosphere. It's an energy that you're providing. Yep. It's symbiotic, and it's really kind of happening in this circular way. That is probably more noticeable from where you stand as a performer than where I than where I sit as an audience member. Fascinating. I want to pay attention to that.
And it's fun too. Yeah. It's definitely just fun, no matter what it is.
What will you play next?
This next one is so. A couple songs I'm playing today are going to be on an upcoming album, but this one was one of the 3 songs that I released on my initial EP, and that was almost 3 years ago now when I released that one. But this is one that people really seem to like, and so I'll play it for you here. It's about social media, so everyone who is watching this probably has a social media account. because
That's how they found it.
That's
yeah.
how you found it. And yeah, so this is one I wrote about that and how you can spend a little too much time scrolling on your cell phone. And why is that, you may ask? Well, that's what I seek to explore in this song. I've been sitting here for a couple hours and I don't know exactly why I bother to stay awake. Pretty soon I'll be a basket case, oh. I've got no energy left to think about anything deeper than my Facebook feed. I know I'm being stupid, but I just keep scrolling. And I think that I know why all my life is just a deception. Oh, my imitation of what someone called perfection. And I already know what I'm doing, but somehow I think this chase will end in satisfaction. And you could stand at a distance and look on and take notes how to not do this so wrong. My whole life is made of gingerbread. A cookie cutter job, do cookie cutter work, have a cookie cutter collarbone, a button down shirt. You know my house is made out of candy and I've got a sugar green lawn and everything is sweet on the outside, but it's only a matter of time before my world is gone. And I think that I know I all my life is just a deception. Oh, my imitation of what someone called perfection. And I already know what I'm doing, but somehow I think this chase will end in satisfaction. And you could stand at a distance and look on and take notes how to not do this so wrong. Well, my whole life is made of gingerbread. Oh, 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 ho, ho. Oh, 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 oh. This is the sing-along part for It's Live. Oh, 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 oh. All my life is just a deception, oh, my imitation of what someone called perfection. And I already know what I'm doing, but somehow I think this chase will end in satisfaction. And you could stand at a distance and look on and take notes how to not do this so wrong. My whole life is made of gingerbread.
Wayward on Moment and Sound. You know, my face hurts from smiling. Like the second you walked in, I've been smiling, and yet there are layers to what you're writing in your songs, and both the songs that we just heard, that are really kind of thought-provoking and that are going to come with you, but yet you're also really having this very, very good time. That's fascinating, huh?
Ooh, boy, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
It almost makes you wonder, like, how do you bounce between all these different emotions?
Right, exactly.
I'm impressed that your smiling muscles have held up this long. It's very impressive.
A little practice.
Yeah, a little practice.
I'm a happy person.
I'm a professional.
Yeah.
I'm a professional smiler.
Tell me about your next project that you're working on, speaking of smiling and happiness. And
yeah, so that is so it's an album called Happiness, and it's funny because it's funny you mentioned that smiling is a big part of the music. It's kind of a funny a funny dual relationship of I went through especially a period of really emotionally difficult and even some depression that was I definitely don't pretend to know what everyone's experience with depression looks like, but I wrote several songs in that, and then I wrote several songs kind of, I shouldn't say coming out of that, because tendencies are different habits of your brain kind of tend to like linger.
Right.
But man, a lot of the songs are kind of actually about. It's funny because it's actually sort of about like wanting to be happy.
Yeah.
And wanting to not just be happy, but to stay happy. And there are several different songs that talk about that. I'm like, man, it's so crazy. There's a song I wrote called 3 Seconds on the album, and I haven't played it live for anybody yet. But it's conceptually maybe it's got to be one of my top favorite songs. And it just talks about like 3 seconds. Like we spend so much of our time like trying to we recognize like the things that make us feel a rush of dopamine, and we try to duplicate them over and over again to get to that next spurt of happiness for 3 seconds. And we look, it's really good food, and like you take a bite, and it's and you're like, wow, this is delicious, and then you need another bite, and then you're like, wow, I need another bite, and it just goes away. And it was so it was just so like depressing, really, like when I thought about it like that. And so the album kind of explores that.
I love that.
And it's
What's the time frame for it, you think?
You know, it's actually fully recorded.
Nice.
Right now, it is in mixing, and mixing is there. I hope that it'll be done, being mixed and mastered in the next 2-3 months.
Nice.
Man,
Nice.
I can't wait. I'm so antsy. It was actually summer of 2017 when I first approached this producer. I'm working with a producer who's super good, really, really good. Quirky, but every person who's good at their job is usually quirky in some way, and I love him. He's a really good producer, and so we worked on this album, and I remember I approached him in summer of 2017, and I remember like thinking, all right, Dan, let's try to release this album in like September of 2017, and if you have a calendar, you may know that it is not September of 2017.
Right.
But I was when I first had that goal, man, I didn't really know the first thing about how to release music, or like how to, like, I wouldn't have known you at that time, or all these things. So there's just a lot of things I'm really grateful for that it didn't be released at that time, because we spent the next kind of year and even until today trying to kind of figure out like how do you reach people, because it's kind of a tricky thing. Social media is like sometimes just really like complex to understand, I think. And when you try to like promote your music, I think every musician or every really creative or any person who runs social media for their job, I think knows that there's just a lot of nuance, and you don't want to like you want it to make sense to people, and you also want to reach the right type of people and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so we spent a while kind of like trying to get the word out a little bit more. And so now I think we have a couple more people on board. That's, I don't know where we're at in the journey of, I forget who it was that talks about the 1,000 true fans type of a thing.
Right.
I don't know where we're at in that, but whoever
growing. Yeah. By the moment.
I hope I hope everyone listening to this, I hope, not everyone, no worries, no pressure. I hope somebody, if you feel like it, you can check out my music, and I hope you love it. And if you don't love it, that's all right, man. I hope you have a good day. And
there's music out that, and I think that's one of the things. Like if you're just taking in what a popular music or a really famous artist is taking in, the message is there's something out there for you. And if this isn't it, there's another local artist, there's another new and upcoming artist.
True.
Take a listen, because you're gonna find that thing that just all of a sudden resonates, and you're like, that's me. That's what I want to hear.
I love it. That was like almost a perfect accidental self-plug. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but Lori just kind of was like, she's like, hey, so just so you know, you can listen to this radio station and you will find something you like. That's pretty good.
Well, a lot of people come through it. I think that it's beautiful in some ways, because this is a really old-fashioned thing that you're doing. Putting your guitar in a car and driving to a city and standing in a restaurant in front of people and playing. And there's this whole class of people in this economy of arts and traveling music, and I love it. And there's a spirit and an energy and a legacy, and an adherence to tradition, but yet pushing things in a whole new way. And everyone's different. I have a great job.
Yeah.
So do you.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's
Where does
very
Wayward
cool.
come from?
Where does
we have 1 minute and we have to stop talking.
Oh, we have 1 minute. All right.
So quick Wayward, and then I'll tell people where to see you tonight.
Basically, Wayward. It started off as a band. It started off we were called Wayward Hobos, and our first band name was The Bright Idea of Selling Soap. That was our first band name. And I have no regrets. I almost wish we stuck with it. But and then we eventually landed on Wayward. And it kind of has to do with sort of a similar concept as even the album Happiness, and like feeling like we're not at home yet, and how I believe that we're like made to be fulfilled in heaven with Jesus. And that's kind of how it started, and it's morphed so much in the meaning because all different kinds of things. We gotta go for now, but it's really good talking with you.
Come see Jonathan Edwards Wayward tonight and tomorrow night. Paramount Studio Cocktails and Food in Sioux Falls. That's right downtown Sioux Falls, starting at 8:00. Thank you. You've just brightened all of our days.
Oh gosh, Lori, I appreciate that.